Watch their eyes. Deji against Jake Paul. We totally missed the fight analysis of that one so far. So in this video, we're gonna look at Deji against Jake Paul. I've been boxing myself. I shared this in previous videos for quite some time. So I may have a different view. Let's have a closer look at the fight. The ring entrance. Jake Paul, he looks very confident here. He's really ready for the fight and you can see that. Then we look at Deji's entrance here and I don't know, he's kind of walking very slow there. He's not really feeling confident. That's the first impression when you look at his entrance here. Look at his eyes right here. He is very nervous about this match. He's not so confident. I think Jake is way more into this whole thing. And Jake is really ready. Look at him. And now what is always a very important point is when they face off at the start of the match. Watch their eyes and who dominates. By the way, I totally understand that Deji is nervous. It's just normal. I've been very nervous. This very scene, you can see very clearly Jake Paul, he's focused. He wanna beat Deji, and Deji, he looked way more nervous in that phase. Clearly Jake Paul won that first face-off in the ring. I was shocked at this when I saw that Jake Paul is leaning over so much. He's really like bending over so much, really giving his head kind of open to Deji, and that was weird. That was really weird. And first of all, when I saw this, I was kind of shocked. Bending over like that, you're very open for jabs, and if Deji had the reach to jab him, he could hit him often. The problem here though is that Deji is smaller than Jake Paul, so it's kind of hard to hit Jake Paul with the jabs for Deji. And I actually think that bending over, that kind of reminded me on wrestling. And maybe because Jake Paul was a wrestler before that he's getting so close to Deji here, bending over that much. Actually, it intensified in later rounds where he was leaning over even more. Already in the early rounds, Jake Paul really dominated the fight. Got Deji in the corner a lot, and with his jab, that jab was actually excellent that Jake Paul did there. Also hitting him with hooks already. So Jake Paul's jab was really excellent. He really controlled this match from the first round with his jab, kind of similar as Logan Paul did. And Deji really struggled here at the start. Jake Paul was making the match. He was walking forward. He was punching Deji and even hitting him with his right hook already in the corner. So very good start in the first round for Jake Paul. I already thought when he can keep that pace, Deji is not gonna make it to 6th round. And also Jake Paul did a really good job. Whenever Deji attacked, he punched back. That's also something very important in boxing, and it's actually not that easy. What you're trying to do is whenever the other guy punches you, punch back every single time, because that's the time when the opponent is most vulnerable, because he has to open up. So always try to punch back the moment the other guy punches you, and that's also where you can control him with those jabs or hooks. Always punch back, because when you don't, the other guy is just gonna use you as a sandbag, which is dangerous of course, because he may walk into a counter punch, especially at pro level, but maybe here with the amateurs you can take more risks and you don't have to expect a counter punch every single time, but a counter punch is a very dangerous knockout punch. Deji often in the corner in the first round and not punching back, it's not a good sign. And then of course, Jake Paul, poor Jake Paul, he already got that bleeding nose in the first round. I mean, it looks horrible, but it's not that bad. It looks worse than it is. It's just a bleeding nose, and when the match takes longer, it may eventually stop bleeding within a few minutes. I don't know. As long as it's not broken or anything, that's not really a problem. Like a bleeding cut on the eyebrow or a closed eye, that's way worse, because if your eyes get closed, you lose your three-dimensional view, and that's gonna make hitting the target way more difficult. It's very unfortunate though that Jake Paul is wearing the white. That looks really horrible with all the blood there on his trousers, and yeah. Wow. Unlucky choice. What I really like in that scene here, that Jake Paul, he has Deji on the ropes. And then as soon as Deji wants to punch back, he moves backwards, not giving Deji the chance to actually hit him. So that's really good boxing skill there, shown by Jake Paul. So the first round clearly goes to Jake Paul. And the second round basically starts the same way the first round ended. Jake Paul hitting those punches with his jab, moving out of reach from Deji, so Deji cannot really hit him. The cardio is coming into play, so Deji sometimes now is also hitting jabs here on Jake Paul. But generally, Jake Paul will control the match and he's forcing Deji to keep the distance because he's always hitting him when he tries to attack. As I said before, he always punch when the other guy tries to punch. Deji is not making the match. He's always moving backwards. And that, of course, gives the round already to Jake Paul. And then Jake also, I'm really impressed by his boxing skill here. He's always looking for the gap there and punching and really controlling Deji in the match. Jake really shows excellent footwork when moving out. It's not as easy as it looks. It's actually very hard to move backwards or move to the sides when the other one attacks. And also the reflexes really on point. He avoids most of the punches again in round 2. And then what I've also seen here, what you don't want to do in boxing, you don't want to have your chin up. Never, ever should you have your chin up, because that really makes you open for punches from left and right. What you do when you have your guard here, you have your chin down. And a lot of beginners, what they actually do is, as soon as they punch, they put their chin up and punch like this. That's why Jake Paul always hits him first when he tries to attack. Like Deji, what he will do, he will try to land his punches, put his chin up, do the punch, and Jake will just counter hit and kind of destroying his attack here. To say something really positive here about Deji, but I think he's standing really well, he's moving well, he's having a good guard, but when he attacks, he becomes kind of open. I think the problem with this matchup is really that Jake is bigger, Jake looks stronger, Jake punches really hard, and that got Deji into trouble from the beginning. And then also what plays a big part here, especially for the beginners, Jake is way more confident. So the second round clearly went to Jake as well. Deji, really big courage there by Deji. He's trying hard. He's trying hard to find a way to hit Jake, and big respect here to Deji for trying so hard and having so much courage to fight. But he's not finding a recipe against Jake. Jake was boxing just too well. Although, I mean, he's always leaning forward so much, kind of giving his head to jabs for Deji. And Deji was not able to take advantage of that, which is kind of sad here. He could have jabbed him more instead of those hooks. That could have been more successful if Deji would try to keep the distance. I know it's not typical for the smaller guy to keep the distance. The smaller guy is supposed to try to get close and make the infight, but that's risky, that's dangerous. Jake Paul is leaning over so much. Maybe Deji should have used the jab a little bit more and maybe tried to tire him more. It's hard, it's hard. I'm not blaming or hating or anything. I know it's really hard. So round 3, basically the same thing as before, and what makes it even worse, you can see that Deji is starting to breathe really heavy. So when I watched this live, I already felt kind of, I expected it to be a knockout later on, especially if Jake goes on like this. Now, round 4, the same thing. Round 5, Jake Paul, he just kept going and going. He had great cardio. Or he kind of fought like a surgical against Deji here. And Deji had so much trouble hitting him, and Jake could hit him basically at will here in round number 5. So in round 5, it seemed obvious very early that this would not go any longer. Deji could not really score. He could not find a recipe against Jake Paul. I can fully understand that his coach finally threw the towel there to end the match, because there was no way except for maybe a lucky punch, but not even that. And he was taking so many punches here in round 5. I think it's actually good for the health of the boxer to stop it there. So I fully agree with that. Let me explain you quickly. When they stop a match usually is when they see that one of them is not fighting back. So if you're just standing there trying to protect yourself and the other guy lands punch after punch, they will stop the fight. You have to move out. You have to have punches yourself. You're good. If you're not punching anymore, the referee or like here, the coach throws the towel and the match will end. And it really looks here like Deji was not able to defend him anymore. So in summary, big respect to both of the fighters for having the courage to do this in front of such a big audience. Big respect there. They trained well. They've shown us a great match here. Looking at the match a little bit closer, I mean, I was impressed by Jake Paul. He got great boxing skill. He looks like he did this before. I don't know. I don't know if it was really his first match or he's just really good at sports. I don't know. But he really had the eye. He saw every little gap and punched. And almost every one of his punches was a hit. So many hits. Also from situations where it's actually hard to hit. There's always a fist from Jake that hits. And Deji struggled to hit here. And so it was pretty obvious the match from the start was going into Jake Paul's direction. And there was no comeback possible, I guess, here for Deji. I think it's just a bad matchup. Jake Paul bigger, stronger, seems more experienced. And it was tough for Deji. So again, big respect to Deji. I hope you enjoyed that closer look into the match. Please give a thumbs up for this video and subscribe to Story Spotlight for more amazing stories. See you in the next one.